Hi everybody, Math 98. As you know from being in class already, we're going to do kind of a do-it-yourself model for lesson 2.7 today. So instead of doing this as an Edpuzzle, I decided I'm just going to do this as a video, and then I'm going to ask you to pause it here and there to do the next problem in your work, and then you can kind of keep going after that, okay? Also, before we start the lesson 2.7 material, I wanted to just go over the question I had asked you to do at the end of last class. So I had asked you to find a data set or create a data set with 5 numbers that have a mean of 25 and a median of 30. So obviously I don't have a way to look at all of your options, all of your choices, but I want to just kind of show you how you know if yours is right. So we know we need to have 5 numbers, okay? No more, no less, exactly 5. And if the median is 30, when we have 5 numbers, if we have them ordered from the smallest to the largest, then the median is my middle number. And since I have an odd number of numbers, I just have one middle number. So this middle number has to be 30. No matter what else your numbers are, they have to be 30. And it has to be 30 when they're in order. So make sure, sometimes when we're doing something like this, we do 3 or 4 numbers and they're in order, and then we're trying to figure out what we need here, and then we put this smaller number here. So make sure they're in order with 30 in the middle. Then if the mean is 25, remember we said that the mean is going to be the sum of all the numbers divided by how many there are, which we could call n. So my mean is 25, and my n for this one is 5. So remember last time we said, okay, well, that tells me that if I want to get the sum by itself, I'm going to multiply both by 5. That means my sum has to be 125. So you can check if your data set that you created is correct by looking for 2 things. When you put them in order, is the middle number 30? And do they all add up to 125? And if so, then both of these will be true. Okay, and we can have a lot of different variety of what your data sets look like. So some examples I just wrote out to show you. Because this is the median, this one has to be 30, but the ones next to it could be 30 also, right? They don't have to be bigger or smaller if they're still in that order. So here are just a couple of examples. You could have something that's looks like this. Okay, I have 3 30s, but as long as that middle number is 30, I'm okay. And these do add up to 125. Another example, I could have 1, 1, 30, 43, and 50. Okay, just kind of examples that are sort of extremes, right? We can't have, this is only going to be able to go down to 0 as the smallest. And what we have over here is governed by making sure we don't go above 125. But in general, those are some ideas of what you might have for those. Okay, so let's get into lesson 2.7. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so you can see here we're in lesson 2.7. We're again talking about statistics. So there's no new material in terms of what we're doing in this case. We're still talking about mean, median, and mode, right? We know that they all have something to do with kind of the middle of the data or what the data is tending to do, but they're all a little bit different. And then we want to just be able to talk about kind of making good decisions, thinking about which one we would want to use in different contexts. So let's look at these following 3 advertisements. So these are 3 ads you might see in a classified section. So I want you to go ahead and just pause the video for a minute and read through each one of those ads. And I want you to look at number 1 here. So think about what measures of central tendency, that means mean, median, and mode, are mentioned in each of these ads. And it might not, you don't usually read an ad and see it say, well, the mean of this is, right, or the median, but think about what words in here mean those different measures of central tendency. Okay, so pause the video and go ahead and read through those, please. Okay, so hopefully you read through those. Some of the things that you might want to look at to kind of keep an eye on that meant those central tendency, we have average, right? Our salespeople make an average of $1,000 a week. Here we say half our sales force makes over $3,000 per month. So half, thinking about median, right? The upper half would be $3,000. Over here, 5 of our 9 salespeople, that's one thing, that's the mode, right? That's more than, that's happening more than anything else we know, because 5 out of 9 is more than half of those. And then their average, oops, I don't want to do that, go back. Their average commission here, okay, well, this doesn't want to help me, but you get the idea. So the average commission also here, right, is another central measure of central tendency. Okay, so hopefully you got those in here, thinking about how that works. Now, as I always say, I want you to be a good, you know, information consumer, and I don't want you to be drawn in by the fact that they're trying to sell you on something, right? So if I look at these, what we need to think about also is that our brains kind of go, I think in some cases, to the best case scenario. So if I'm looking for a job and I read this sales position, it says our sales people make an average of $1,000 per week. In my brain is thinking, oh, I can make $1,000 per week, which is not at all what it says, right? It says they make an average of 1,000. We know from looking at averages, even just think about these two I put up here. And in the last class we did that. We had a lot of different choices for data sets that have the same average. So it could mean that all of their sales people make $1,000 per week. It could mean that some of their salespeople make nothing, and a couple of them make $2,000 or $3,000 a week, and it averages out to 1,000. Okay. Same with this. Half of the sales force makes over $3,000 a month. In my brain is telling me, oh, good, I can make $3,000 per month. Well, that means half of their sales force makes under that, and we don't know if they make $29.95 or if they make $2. So just kind of think about really what it's saying, and don't always just get drawn into what you want it to say or what they're trying to project there. Okay, so for each advertisement, create a set of data that fits the description. So we are just going to look at 1 and 2, okay? This one right here is just a little trickier, and so especially since we're not doing it together, I'm just going to have you look at number 1, the sales positions available, and the are you above average for this. So go ahead and make a data set that fits each description. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. So for the first one, you just need a data set where people make an average of $1,000 a week. They're trying to hire 5 people. It doesn't really say how many people they already have. You could just make that up. That's fine. Just, you know, you could say that each of these have 5 people if you want. And then here, you know, half our sales force makes out over $3,000. So however many salespeople you want to say that they have, half of them are going to make over $3,000. So go ahead and create a set of data for those. Okay, so obviously you could have lots and lots of different things, right? So for advertisement number 1, the important thing here is that the mean is 1,000. So however many, the number of data points or the number of numbers times 1,000 has to be the sum, right? So if I have 5 data points, my numbers have to add up to 5,000 because 5,000 divided by 1,000 is going to be 5. Is that what I want to say? Sorry, the other way around, right? The sum 5,000 divided by 5 is going to be 1,000. That would be our average. So whatever your numbers are. So again, we could have some really varying numbers. We could say 0, 0, 0, 0, 5,000. That would have an average of 1,000, right? Or we could say something like, you know, I'm just looking at the extremes here. They could all be 1,000. And anything in between, all right? If in this scenario, I can't have anybody making more than 5,000 because then it would pull the average up over 1,000. All right, ad number 2, it says half of their sales force makes over $3,000. So basically the median has to be $3,000 or more, right? Because if I have all of their numbers, so I'm just going to go with 5 again. Half of their sales force makes $3,000 or more. So half is going to be from the median up, right? So that's kind of what your data set has to look like. Remember, again, it has to be in smallest to largest order. Okay. In which job would you expect to earn the most money? Well, really, I think what our data tells us is that it really varies, right? So even for the median, you know, everybody could make $3,000. I mean, I guess they wouldn't really advertise it like that if everyone was making $3,000, but this data set says half of their sales force is making $3,000, really more than that is. Or you could have, you know, again, for extremes, you could have this. The thing with median is you don't know how high it goes. So someone could make 3,000, some people could be making 25,000. We don't know, and some people could be making 0. So it really depends. We don't really know. When we read that data quickly, it kind of feels like we know what's happening, but really we have some information, but not as much as we might think. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this video right now, and then I will make a second video for problem situation number 2. All right, so I am going to, as I said, stop this now, and then I'll be back in just a second with a second video.